30-second delay.
Yeah, something like that. Okay, welcome, folks. We got Joel here joining us, and Mitch, of course, and myself. We're going to do a little Q&A. We warned you, if you guys watched our big DVN battle that Joel put on. Thank you very much for putting that on with your pretty troops and battlefield and Battle of Albuera. We won't tell you how it's going to turn out, and you guys have to watch that.
There you go.
And don't skip to the end. Okay? None of that crap.
That's not fun.
Yeah. So we've been doing the Q&A here probably the last 3 weeks or whatever. We've seen guys seem to get some questions in, and they're not necessarily DVA related, which is good because that's,
it's more interesting.
Yeah, it's more interesting. And if Joel is Mr. DVN here, so if you guys have any,
I wouldn't say that, but yeah.
Close enough.
of the three of us, yes,
Close enough.
okay, you're the grand marshal of that. And so if you guys have any DVN type questions, make sure we'll ask that at the end. We're going to go through the questions that we have here, and then we'll get through any questions that you guys may have on here. So how long we're on here depends on what kind of questions you have and how we behave. So, no beer?
No beer. I'm good.
Okay. Okay, so the first one is a question here by CJ Hobbyfly. And I normally take the questions and I put them on a Word document and then print them out at work, but I was in such a hurry to get here to play the game that I didn't do that. So I had to go on the site and copy them in shorthand. So if I don't read your question exactly how you asked it, I apologize. But
You'll get the gist of it.
I hope so. I really didn't do a good job. CJ Hobbyfly says, if you had time...
Oh, boy.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I wrote really fast because I didn't want to spend this for, a long time. If you had the time and the resources to sit down and write your own rules, what would they be? In scale, miniatures, would they be skirmish, company scale, whatever, and what time period? So if you had the time and resources to write your own rules.
Joel's first.
Yeah, Joel's first, of course.
Just go first.
Yeah. Well, you can always skip and say, let me think about it, and then Mitch will go next.
I don't know that I'd ever write a set of rules.
From scratch?
No,
Okay.
I don't think I would. There's enough stuff out there in the hobby over the last 40, 50 years. There's plenty of rule sets.
Okay.
Now, would I tinker with rules a little bit? Possibly. Though if I tinker a lot, it's not worth messing with. I'll go with something else. But if you find a set of rules you like, and either because the inconsistencies in the rules, you don't know the answer to a question, just figure it out, amend it, and keep playing that way. I'm okay with tinkering with the rules. I'm having house adjustments to figure things out.
Have you played a lot of different set of rules?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Of the, let's say you played 10 set of rules. You played a lot more than that. But if it was 10 proportion, how many have you tinkered with? Half of them?
Oh yeah, to some extent or another. Whether it's, and usually we didn't tinker to change the outcome, we tinkered to clarify.
Okay.
A rule says this is what's going to happen in this situation, but what about something's just a little different than that situation? The rules don't cover it. We just would figure it out and decide this is how we're going to handle that situation.
Yeah.
So you would maybe add flavor where there isn't any, or clarify an outcome that
Clarify
seems
something
vague.
that doesn't seem to cover that situation
Okay.
in the rules.
Which always comes up.
always comes up. Yeah. But as far as changing the rule because I didn't like the outcome of that, I'm going to change it so it comes out with this outcome. No, I'm not going to do that.
So if you're playing like a Napoleonic set, we're like, I don't think that heavy cavalry should act like that. They should be more powerful or whatever.
Right.
You
And
haven't
if
done.
that's the situation in a set of rules, you probably need to look at a different set of rules. Rather than change it, just look at a different set of rules that does what you want it to.
So you're not interested in taking a set of rules and changing the mechanics. It's kind of like,
If I find a mechanics that I like, I'm going to stick with it, but I may tinker to get it where everything's working and there's no mystery situations.
okay. Okay. Mitch?
I might in the future.
You
like a
might?
new set of rules?
What?
Not newer set of rules, but tinker with the epic.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, with that
I don't like all the
40K?
Yeah,
The epic
different
40K?
ranges. Yeah, I don't like all the different ranges
Simplify it a little bit, make it a
That's-
little bit more beer and pretzels,
Yes.
and a lot of fun.
because I get a crap load of them and they look really cool. but I don't like, because some guys only shoot 5 centimeters. Well,
That's too close.
and yeah, well,
That's
yeah.
super finicky.
Yeah, when you got other weapons that are shooting like, line
Forever
of sight.
away.
Yeah, it's like,
Yeah, fix it.
Okay,
We'll
so
fix that.
I've
Let's
never
fix that.
I've
Yes.
never played Epic 40K,
Yeah.
but from what I can see from 40K, okay, from what I can see from 40K, there is almost like the BattleTech factor, okay? And the BattleTech factor is you have these ultra modern weapons that really don't fire that far. So 40K is almost set up. It seems like, say, infantry shoots this far, but then a tank shoots twice that. It's like almost super compressed.
yeah.
Epic isn't that way. It's the opposite, right?
Yeah, it's grand tactical.
You've got this
They're
Titan
worried
that
about-
shoots like
Yeah,
halfway
you got
across
some
the damn
troops that
board.
only shoot, like I said, 5 centimeters is nothing, you
Right.
know? And you
Yeah.
got, like you said, vehicles are all shooting, like they have small guns that might shoot 15, but a big gun that shoots 90.
So it's almost like command decision,
You
where
know,
you've got things that can shoot 50 inches
Yeah.
away, and
Which
infantry's
you
got to
should
be
have.
right on
I
top
mean,
of it.
infantry's not going to shoot as far as a main battle tank gun.
Yeah,
I mean, it's obvious.
Right.
It's not going to shoot the same distance.
right.
But
But all the, checking each model, it sucks. That sucks.
It's time consuming.
And and that was time consuming. Then you got, is that in or out? Is that, 5 centimeters is like, that's pretty hard to measure
And
out.
it's really small.
Yeah.
So
If it's 90, it's okay. Yeah. Nope, that's in, that's out. It's pretty simple. But
Right.
the infantry, I'm thinking about maybe
bumping up the ranges a little bit.
Just make it a little
You
bit
could bump
easier.
up the ranges on the infantry and the smaller weapon fire,
Yeah,
and not even bother changing the long stuff.
Yeah.
Because in the grand scheme of things,
right.
ain't gonna make a difference.
well, now wait a
It's
second.
not gonna make a difference.
What if you
Yeah.
like playing this way, and then you end up going to a Warhammer 40K tournament? You have to relearn everything.
Not happening.
No,
I've
you're not going to go there
been doing
anymore.
it for
Oh, they
our
don't
fun.
have any anymore.
Our
Okay.
fun.
That's one of those rule sets that
Yeah, we don't
the
do
Games
that.
Workshop just
Yeah.
said
Yeah,
we don't want
that
people to
bit's
game
gone.
that anymore.
Yeah. But we had a lot of,
You have a lot of stuff,
we
right?
had a lot of stuff. We had a lot of fun. I wouldn't
And
mind.
you could make it more fun.
Yes.
Yep.
Yep. So eventually I might introduce us back to that.
I play.
Yep. It's fun.
I don't like Titans though. I don't want to play with
No,
Titans.
no, no.
I don't like-
I don't think anybody wants to play with it. They just wanted to sell models.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't like the Titans.
Yeah. Me, if I had the time and resources, yeah. Yeah.
Give me lots of Land Raiders and stuff like that. Thanks.
If I had the time and resources, definitely. Would I make my own rules? Yeah, I've kind of done it, but yeah, the Renaissance rules, that's kind of on the back burner for the time being. I have a limited amount of time, so if I'm working on rules, then I'm not painting stuff. And rules aren't therapy. Painting things are. You wouldn't know.
No. No idea. Gaming is there.
You do that
Yeah,
other,
you really is for
and you also do that other thing that we can't mention on videos.
Nope.
That's therapy. But yeah, I'm not, I'm not particularly interested in rules for, as a therapeutic thing. It would be more like playing another period. What period? Renaissance, of course. What else would it be? No, originally, 30 years ago, maybe 30 years ago? Yeah. We were coming up with our own World War II set of rules for skirmish. And in the process of doing that, we didn't have we played every week type of thing.
Yeah.
So it was very haphazard how we were making progress. In the process of doing that, I came across another set of rules that fit the bill pretty close. And, it's been 20 years since we played that, But, so I don't feel like I need to do that for World War II.
Yep.
It might be one of those things that if we played that often, then we would end up doing what Joel was talking about, clarifying some things, because
Yeah.
the rules are actually out of print now. But anyhow, question number 2. Any time period and type of game that hasn't been done by designers or makers for companies. So is there a period that maybe, you just can't understand why nobody has made a game or miniatures for a certain period?
There's miniatures I wish they made in the scale I play with for what I do that
Okay.
they don't make.
Okay, and that would be?
But Well, like I was looking for 15 to 18 millimeter engineers, pioneers, sappers,
Okay.
specific to each nation
In Napoleonic?
in Napoleon.
Okay.
I did end up finding, finally, after a lot of searching and going to a website that won't be mentioned, 'cause everybody hates them, that I got some good leads. And so that actually Stonewall Miniatures makes some French guard and bearskin sappers and pioneers. And they also make a British one, which is kind of cool. And they also make 2 Austrian ones. So I did find some, but there's no Prussian specific, no Russian specific.
Could you take the British and modify them for the Prussians, maybe?
I suppose cutting off heads and
Ooh,
Their
brutal.
heads.
well,
That's why we
changing the
war
hats,
game, right?
basically,
Violence.
changing the hats.
Yeah.
I don't mind doing that at 25, but at 15, it's for me, it's too fiddly.
I did my first head conversion ever in my Hungarian army, and it was
How'd that turn
stressful.
out?
It's in 15
It's
millimeter,
stressful
it's hard.
if you don't have a lot of spare figures where you could screw it up. And I
Uh,
had lots of spares, which of course meant I didn't screw it up. But it was, I've been painting a long time, so it's unusual when I come across something that's like, I can really screw this up. And I don't, like Little Big Man Studios decals, okay? They're absolutely beautiful if you guys have used them, but they're not very forgiving. I mean, you have to place them, they're not water slide decals where you can put them on and then get your micros set on there and move them around. It's like, you got to do them kind of half blind from the back
And
side.
the first time is going to be what it's going to be.
And they're beautiful, but it's really stressful for someone who's experienced,
But as far as a range of figures for a particular period, no, I can't think of anything that hasn't been done by somebody that anyone would care about anyway. Maybe there might be something obscure that.
Even something weird like Russian-Turkish war. Somebody makes figures for
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And there's a lot of different Russo-Turkish wars over the
Yeah.
years, and they make them for all of them.
Yeah.
It'd be nice if somebody made more Ottoman Turks for the Napoleonic period. There's a couple of manufacturers, and nobody has a complete range. You've got a couple of figures here, and you've got a couple of figures here.
and they don't mix.
Well, because I do 18s, and
Yeah.
they're all 15s, and they're all it's a little on the small. And I couldn't, what it is available in 18, I really can't mix on the same base with the other stuff that's available.
Right.
So I haven't done the Turks yet. One of the reasons. Plus, I don't know if I want to build another crappy army.
Now,
I've already got a crappy army in the Spanish. I don't know if I want to build
Yeah.
another crappy army.
Now, what about? Is there a specific war or a period that no one has really tapped into game designing wise? Like, is there a set of rules that?
Well, most for miniature gaming, rule sets are pretty easy to write a set of rules that covers this 100 years, or this 50 years, or this 25 years, or this war. You can always adapt. You have a set of Napoleonic rules with some adaptation. Can go all the way back to 1700 with War of Austrian Succession,
Right.
and it can go all the way up to the Franco-Prussian War with some adaptation.
Right.
So, everything's been covered one way or another. I think it would be easy enough to do it.
Yeah.
Mitch,
No, nothing.
there's nothing out there that you're like, man, I really wish they did rules for the War of Jenkins Ear specifically.
Yeah, I know. No,
They do have set of rules for that.
Yeah, they do. They do. Yeah.
because they got rules for
GBN
the.
covers that.
They got rules for the Russo-Japanese, like on the land.
Oh, yeah.
They do.
Oh, yeah.
right?
They do.
Yeah.
What about
Again,
figures?
A lot of different. They make figures, obviously, and also
Yeah.
there's a lot of sets of rules that can easily cover that.
Yeah.
Any World War I set of rules will cover that.
Yeah.
Any Franco-Prussian War set of rules.
Between the two, you
With
put
tweaking,
between one
you
thing
cover
and the
that.
other, right?
Yeah.
Between one thing and the other.
Yeah. I think it'd be hard to find
Yeah.
a period where you just
Now,
not
is
covered.
there a hex-based board game
Right.
specifically for
Exactly.
that?
Right.
That's
Right.
different.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
But with
Right.
miniatures,
Well, there may be, but there might be one aspect of you might have a hex-based game and not miniatures or so forth, or you want to say even a computer game.
a computer game.
And
Aha.
that they don't have for that time of period. So I think rules-wise, they've covered just about everything.
Yeah.
Miniatures wise, it used to be, say 20 years ago, I would say naval. I started doing naval, and there's a lot of stuff, a lot of ships that weren't covered at the time. Shapeways has helped a lot, so there's a lot of stuff on Shapeways you can get in whatever scale you want. If you do
Now, what is
3,000.
Shapeways?
So Shapeways is a print-on-demand service.
Yeah.
So, you know, there's designers that put it out there, and it's for people like me and probably you who do not have zero interest in doing 3D printing. I don't want to fight with that, but I don't mind paying for something and then painting that. That's what I do.
I think 3D printing is becoming a game changer for miniatures, particularly for making that one-off
Right.
Model,
Swedish
whatever.
Coastal defense ship
Swedish
or something.
engineer or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, and okay, sure, if I have to pay, I don't know what these files cost, but I have to pay $12 to get this file, or pay somebody $12 to make me 3 figures.
Right.
I'll pay it
Yeah.
because I'm not going to get somebody to do it in lead.
Yeah.
So
Right.
yeah.
For me, it's going to be, as long as people have, I've bought stuff from Shapeways. I have 1/6000 scale ships, modern. I've got some Japanese and Chinese.
So they actually make the figures for you.
One of the designers is on there, and I think Shapeways are actually the people that do the printing.
Okay.
And then mailing it out.
Right.
I have no interest in fighting with technology that
Right.
works one day, and then you're like, oh good, I'll be able to paint these Turks or whatever it is when I come home from work, and you come back and they're like, blah. They didn't turn out, and then I'm pissed off, and
Right.
I'm not interested in that. I paint. I may take a long time painting, but it's like the tortoise and the hare. I'm always making progress.
Right.
It's not like all of a sudden like I forget, my paint doesn't work or something like that. So, now, I would have said naval a long time ago, but Shapeways kind of solved that. But I've been thinking, another thing that would be really interesting to get into, not that I'm going to. Have you ever played Sword in the Flame?
Yeah.
Okay. It would be really interesting to do Victorian gaming, like Sword in the Flame, in 15 millimeter, because some of us aren't going to paint 28s because it takes forever. But then you could do stuff with the French and the so in other words, you have natives, but also Europeans. So you have the interaction of Europeans with other Europeans,
Sword in the
and exactly. But the problem with Sword in the Flame is it's all like Victorian English and natives, whether it's Pathans or people. Most part, it's not. It's not. I envision something that would be more like, say, the British and the Germans running around in World War I in Africa, where it's only a few of them and lots of natives getting manipulated and that kind of stuff. That would be really interesting to do stuff like that would be in the Victorian time period with Russians and French and the Prussians. You could use Franco-Prussian figures for the Prussians, and you could fudge them, but there's nothing specific for that kind of stuff because those conflicts never happen. I mean, there's some things for like Boxer Rebellion, and there's Franco-Prussian War, and like the stuff for like the Northwest frontier for the English,
French
but
Foreign
nothing
Legion.
other than That would be really interesting to do. You do a Pig Wars, if you guys have ever played Pig Wars, something like that in that kind of an environment would be kind of cool. I'm not going to get into it because I've got enough on my plate, but I was just kind of brainstorming,
Yeah.
Okay, that's 2 down. All right, question number 3, also from CJ Hobbyfly. I don't know if he's still on because it is kind of late over there in the UK, but he can just listen to this forever. He says, I've heard you say Hannibal is my favorite general. You heard wrong. That's Marty.
Yeah,
is
Marty.
Hannibal's favorite general.
Yeah,
Well,
Marty.
Hannibal's really cool, but see, he goes to bat for. I'm not a fan of the Carthaginians. Just the whole sacrifice their own kids. No,
Leave the
I'm
kids
not
out.
interested in that.
Leave the kids
I'm
out.
not interested in that.
Yeah.
But anyhow, so you say Hannibal is my favorite general. Are there any U.S. generals that I also like, or any? I'll leave that at that. There's a second part to that. Are there any U.S. generals that you are particularly, fond of, maybe reading about, not necessarily worshiping, but
Maybe-
are interested in?
Maybe we
reading?
should start with the original question. Hannibal, Caesar, or Alexander.
Well, no. One of the choices was Napoleon. It's obvious that it's him.
Was one of the two? Yeah.
Yeah. The original question a couple of weeks ago was.
You won't pick Napoleon?
No, I'm not going to pick any of them because I don't have a favorite general.
You don't have a favorite general?
Any period. I just
No,
don't.
there's not somebody you're like, oh, I really like reading about this guy.
No.
No? No one.
No.
So if you don't have a favorite general,
I'll be honest.
you don't have a U.S. favorite
Here's
general.
what I like about gaming and history. I don't read history anymore. I just kind of. First of all, I fall asleep when I try to read a book.
Well,
As
I
I've
understand
gotten
what you're
older,
getting. I understand what you're getting.
So I don't read books anymore because I fall asleep. But B, I would rather when I gaming, I like painting them. The fact that they look so cool on the tabletop. I'm a big fan of flags. The more flags I can put on units, the better.
I get it. Yeah.
And B, I just like pushing little toy soldiers around the table. I'll be honest. It doesn't matter if I win, if I lose, I just don't care. I like pushing toy soldiers around the table. That's my whole thing. As far as I like doing historical battles. That's neat because, but it could have been Soult. It could have been somebody else. It could have been Winnie the Pooh. I don't care who was running the army.
So you don't like go back and let me read more about Marshal Soult. No?
No, I don't. I might read about that campaign and what happened in the campaign, but as to who was the actual leader, okay. But
Mitch, you got a favorite U.S. general?
Uh,
I guess he just assumed they were in the U.S., so he liked U.S.
Yeah.
generals. So that's his question.
I'd go Pat.
you're an Anglophile. You like everything English, well, Scottish.
Pat. Yeah, that's you. Pat.
Patton.
He was a jerk.
Name another. They're all jerks.
Patton was a jerk, but he did do some good stuff.
Yeah. Another one on top of that?
Yeah. No. Name another. I mean, is he the only U.S. general that you know?
Name
Name another U.S. That's not MacArthur.
No.
Clark.
You don't like MacArthur?
No.
No. You didn't like his showmanship when he came back? Like he left everybody hanging and then he came back?
Yeah.
Yeah?
He made quite. Won't go there. Anyways. Let's say Sherman.
Like burning places down. Huh?
Sure.
Okay.
Burning down the house. Oh, sorry.
I don't have a favorite. I don't enjoy playing Americans. I'm already American. We don't get to do any funny voices when you play Americans. I mean, I guess you could. I'm sorry, that is a big appeal to me. I'm already American. Now, I'm glad that I live in this country, and I like this country, but you guys all over the world, you have history, it's a lot more interesting. You guys are like savage, brutal, it's just more interesting to read. It's like, and it's not that I'm a warmonger, but it's like, you know how some of you sadists like to watch horror movies and watch innocent girls getting murdered. I like conflicts. That's kind of my, rubbernecking and an accident type of reaction to reading about the conflict. I don't want the world to kill each other, but it's fascinating. The trouble that we've all gone through to try to get that upon one another. U.S. generals? No, I haven't really read anything about. Now, I mentioned MacArthur. There's a guy who does a podcast, which many of you guys are familiar with. He's very good. His name is Dan Carlin, and it's hardcore history. And he does multi-part things, and they're available for free. And he did like a 7-part one on World War I that was spectacular. But he did one on the Pacific. And I'm a World War II nut, but I guess I'm really not because I don't really focus on the Pacific stuff because, it involves Americans, mostly. And but he did this one that's multi-parts, and I heard about MacArthur and what happened in the Philippines. And I know eventually what happened. I'm talking about initially with Bataan. And it was just really fascinating to do that. Now, you also mentioned Patton. I don't read books for the same reason you do. They put me to sleep. And it's not that they're boring, but they're too relaxing. But sometimes I'll read books for scenario ideas.
Yeah.
So now it's overtaxing. I've got a book here. I've got an atlas open. I'm scrolling somewhere else to see, because I want to see how everything interplays with each other. I just don't have time to do it. So I do Audible.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
you can do that while you're painting or whatever.
So I came across recently a book by Bill O'Reilly. He does the Killing series, and I did the one on killing Reagan. And it was really very interesting. They do one on Patton.
Yep.
So I'm like, that's probably really interesting to do. So I think that's on my read list
Okay.
now to come up. So we'll see what's
How that
it's
turns out.
done. Yeah, it's interesting how it's done. And I like the books because a book, you'll hear something that's like, you know what, I want to know a little bit more about that one thing. And then you go in there and you can dig a little deeper. Now, we're going to have to skip this question for you because of how you answered it. The second part of that is, are there any generals that fought against the U.S. that you admire? You don't admire any generals. I mean, I don't have any heroes, so it's not like, oh, I like this guy because, you know, I wanted to
Right.
be his lapdog.
Exactly.
But there's things that I read about that maybe this person was at the right place at the right time that, you know, is interesting, you know, in the conflict. Like, in your case, you said you like the desert, you know, so reading about Rommel,
Oh, for the
you
World
know,
War II stuff.
or von Mellenthin. You ever read Panzer Battles?
Nope.
Okay, so this guy who was on the chief of staff on all this stuff. Now, these books were done in the 50s, so a lot of this stuff has been kind of whitewashed that the Germans did because of the Cold War. You only saw like one aspect of it, you know. So, you know, we grew up hearing these from really one vantage point,
Right.
especially stuff that happened on the Eastern Front that maybe,
Victor rewrites the history.
or you know, when one guy's archives are sealed and the other guy wants to tell you their side of the story because you're fighting the other guy, you're only seeing one edge. It's interesting. It makes
Yeah.
you kind of, you know, relearn anything. So in your case, what is?
So it could be anybody that fought against America?
Yeah, anybody who fought against
Yeah,
America.
it would be Rommel.
It would be Rommel, right?
Yeah. Yeah, he did a lot with very little.
So I don't know exactly what the numbers
Did
are,
you
but
actually fight the Americans?
Yeah.
yes,
Well, in Europe he did,
Yeah.
but not
well,
in North Africa.
Well,
Yes.
It was his plan, was it? Kesselring
But he was
fought?
gone by the
Yeah,
time
he
we
got
showed
sick
up.
and
didn't
no,
he went home for Kesselring, didn't he?
I don't remember
he? He
exactly.
was,
what
I think
happened.
he was gone by
I
the
don't
time
exactly.
we got there.
I don't
pretty
remember
much.
exactly what happened.
Was
but-
he
As
out?
far as any real fighting.
By the time the Americans came, the Africa Corps was now Panzer Army Africa or whatever.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
when he first started, he was actually under the Italians,
I believe that.
which he didn't
They
like.
had the
Which he didn't like.
largest force.
Yeah.
Yeah, he didn't like that. So.
Yeah.
But they actually had a lot of the supplies that went to Rommel, North Africa, were sunk.
Right.
I mean,
Mhm.
like a lot, like
We knew
more
that
than
from-
half.
The British knew their codes, and
Malta was a pain in the butt.
Malta was a pain in the butt. Yeah.
they had to broke their codes, so they always knew when.
As was Crete.
Yeah.
It was a bit of a
But
problem.
the code wasn't as broken in World War II as it was in World War One. The German code in World War One was screwed up completely. Okay, because in World War II the Germans would change it from time to time. So yeah, they definitely had the edge. But in World War One, it was, you know, the beginning of World War One, like literally a month in, a German light cruiser, that I believe it was the Magdeburg, runs aground on a minefield or near a minefield near Russia, and the Russians go. So they're like, oh shit, sink the code books, and they don't get all of them. And the Russians go, here you go, to the British.
Sure.
And they freaking knew everything, you know. But yeah,
Yeah, it
Malta
should be.
was a huge pain in the butt. Malta was a huge
Yep.
pain in the butt. But when we did naval gaming, I loved doing the med because it was just awesome. It was just awesome trying to prevent and take, and you had limited air power and all that
Yeah.
kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So Rommel's your choice, huh?
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of the Eastern Front, and because a lot of this stuff really at the time, I haven't studied World War II stuff in 20 years. You know, you really only have the German stuff to come from it, and I love the Eastern Front because it's like which bad guy you want to be, you know. And at the end of the day, either Nazis or communists are being killed. You know, is that really so bad? But anyhow, the stuff that happened. I always thought the Eastern Front was really cool because generally it was, for most of the time, it was morally less Germans fighting more numerous, not as trained Russians. Generally. So it's a nice balance. And the air power isn't overwhelming. Like Western Front's like, okay, the Germans might have had really cool tanks and experienced troops many times, but they had to move at night because they were going to get hosed by air power. So it's unbalancing. The desert's great for that. because the desert is
And
balanced.
they all have crappy tanks.
Yeah.
Well, they all have
the
equal
French-
tanks.
The Germans have some better tanks, but in general, they all have crappy tanks, particularly early.
Yeah, so I
All the
like
Crusaders
I
and
like that
cruisers
stuff.
and-
So did I read a lot of stuff that I don't know. I read von Mellenthin's book. I never got around to reading Manstein's stuff, but of course, the jury's still out. Supposedly, he wasn't that good. Or so there's a couple of campaigns that I was particularly interested in. The stuff in the desert, and I didn't care for Stalingrad, okay, but I did like when Stalingrad got encircled, the punch to relieve it. I thought that was Wintergewitter. I think that is super interesting because the Germans are just a little bit better, and the tanks are still kind of on parity and stuff like that. And it's snow, and I live in Florida, so it's kind of exotic. Just kind of like the desert is exotic. It's almost like on another planet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I really answered that question.
No.
There's not really anybody. The problem with generals is I'm a tactics guy. I've mentioned this before.
Yep.
And generals don't really do tactics. They do this like I would never pick up and read a book with Eisenhower because he's talking at levels of things that don't interest me.
Right. He's
Now
talking
that's what
at
wins the
levels.
war, but that's not, I'm interested in I'm fighting a Sherman. And I'm like, I want to know
Unless
what
you're
it is,
wargaming,
what
that's
kind of
not what
armor
we're
is it,
doing.
what stowage, that kind of stuff is the stuff I'm interested in. Because I'm also a modeler and a figure painter.
Well, it could be
you know.
during a campaign,
Yeah.
campaign, but generally that's more board game operational level.
Yeah.
Versus what we like to do, which is tank against tank or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. So CJ Hobbyfly also says he's in the UK, and he says they play a lot of American Civil War there,
Yeah.
which I'm surprised. But he asked,
Well, we do a lot of Napoleon
Oh, yeah.
here, so it makes
well,
sense.
he asked,
Makes sense.
is English Civil War popular here in the States? Not with us.
I mean, some people for sure
But not
play
that-
it.
Yeah. But
I've never built an army
Yeah.
for it. I've never built it.
I haven't seen that many.
Yeah, it's not.
It's not a period really that interests me. Now,
In
I
fact,
don't like
30 Years War isn't that popular. That whole
It isn't.
era doesn't seem that popular.
yeah,
Not really.
Yeah, it's not. So that's why, that's the period I want to play, make rules for.
You're gonna have to have better Civil Wars to get us.
Yeah, you got a better Civil War. Now, I don't like American Civil Wars because there's basically two sides. If you take another Civil War type thing, maybe American War of Independence, is Civil War-ish in that you've got a revolt kind of thing. At least there you've got different nationalities. You got American standard troops. You've got American volunteers. You've got
American
Brits.
militia.
You've got Hessians. You've got French.
You got Canadians.
You've got Indians.
Well,
Native Americans or whatever you guys want to call them now.
Yeah.
That's offensive too. Native Americans, whatever.
Whatever.
Indians. You guys
They
know what
fight
I'm
for
talking
both
about.
sides.
Huh?
They
They
fight for
did,
both sides.
but it's multifaceted and it's interesting. Now I'm not interested because it's American history, but now English Civil War I think is more interesting to me than American Civil War because you've got the king, you got Parliament, you got Scots, you got Irish, huh?
Yeah, pikes.
You have Pikes. Pikes always,
I think part of the reason is you're more of an ancients guy.
I'm not. I'm a World War II guy.
You're a World War II guy.
I'm a World War II guy that wants to
plays
play
a
with his
lot
own
of
figures.
Okay. Plays
Yeah.
one thing. Okay.
Yeah.
But I just see English Civil War being more in your wheelhouse
Absolutely.
than
Absolutely.
somebody with muskets and linear warfare in the American Revolution. Just like Napoleon. The farther we move away from that,
Well,
that it's not in your wheelhouse.
you have
People play it, just not your
you have ancients where you have some kind of combined arms. You've got heavy foot, shooters, and heavy and mounted troops of some kind.
Right.
Pretty much goes through all the time. You start getting into firearms like the Italian wars and stuff that I like. I still like that because it, and then you start getting out of 1500. I start losing interest. Then you got more gunpowder, and then cavalry starts
And
losing.
everybody starts being very similar to each other.
Exactly.
Where
Even in
ancients-
painting. Like, we were watching that
Yeah.
Versailles. If you guys haven't seen that Versailles show, that series, that is a
good.
super interesting show.
It's good.
And we're like, hey, we could game that stuff, right? But Lace Wars, 1700, the War of Austria. But everybody starts, War of Spanish Succession.
Right.
Everybody starts wearing the same type of uniform,
Yep.
hats, just different basings. And it's like cavalry
But
isn't.
you know what the difference is?
What's that?
The flags.
Well, there's that.
No, that's
sure,
the
there's that.
thing.
There's that.
The flags are so cool in that period. They carry through.
Cool.
Yeah. So anyhow,
I like
so,
flags.
I like flags too. That was the first, you know.
I'm surprised you don't collect them. Like
Flags?
You know, yeah, like regular flags.
Because you know what? I don't collect anything anymore. Because you know what? Collecting stuff is just stuff.
Yeah.
And it takes up
That's true.
space.
Yeah.
And you pay $100 for this really cool thing that it's something you can put on your wall.
And everybody who looks at it doesn't know what the hell it is.
Exactly. And you know what? When you get ready to get rid of it, you know what it's worth?
Because you have too many friends that are plebs.
You have to pay somebody to take it away.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't collect anything.
Collecting to me sounds like let me hoard something that I can't use.
And I've done that. I've been guilty of that. Lots of different things.
Like
Not
people
anymore.
that collect cars or collect guns. I have this car, but I can't drive it. I have this gun, but I can't shoot it. What the hell's wrong with
Why
you?
do you have it?
Why do you have it? You know, I just don't understand. You know what it is. You know, let me buy these clothes and never put them on.
You can't use
But
it.
part of that for me might be age. Again, I'm getting to the point where I was like, why do I have this stuff?
Yeah.
It's just stuff. Get rid of it.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. That's all from CJ Hobbyfly. Okay. Now, our other Gold Star member, question asker, Patty Green.
Oh.
Drink. Well, I don't have any alcohol. Okay. No. He wants some advice on. You came to the right place on this question because this is one of the things that we're into. He wants advice on Asian armies.
Aha!
Okay. He already has a Tang, a Samurai, and he has a Chin. That's the terracotta
Yeah.
warrior guys.
Yeah.
That he has on a painting. So he's thinking he wants some other Asian armies, and he's looking for suggestions for what the army is, and also manufacturers. Well, I couldn't wait until you came, so I asked this about a couple weeks ago. So I'm like, get Koreans.
Oh.
Koreans from the Three Kingdoms period, not to be confused with the Three Kingdoms period for the Chinese. Three Kingdoms Chinese is right after the Han Dynasty. Okay, Romance of the Three Kingdoms, all that. Three Kingdoms Korean is when probably around 380 to, one of the kingdoms survived all the way into the 900s. So it's Dark Age period Korean. So you've got Koguryo, Pachiki, Kaya, and the guys that Shilla, which are the ones that made it all the way to the 900s. And Kurosan makes figures for them, which they didn't at the time.
Which are
when
good,
I had
too.
them. That's for you.
Which are good. Figures.
Yeah, they're all good figures. They're all good armies. You're going to have an army that other people don't have, and they look cool. They got cataphracts, and they've got guys with halberds and really cool looking troops.
A lot of
you know.
different troop types.
If you're going to paint things, then you want to paint cool looking things. Are you heading out?
I gotta head out.
You gotta head
I got an
out.
hour
You going
drive
to the
home.
other? You going to the other side?
Yeah, I'm gonna.
I mean, if we stay over here, people are going to want us to hold hands.
They'll be like, oh, look at that.
Not that there's anything wrong with
Yeah.
that. But,
Yeah.
There isn't? It's okay.
but as long as I've known you would have made a move on me already.
That's right. That's right. And I did this.
So I'll be back Tuesday next week. If something happens to that.
Looking forward to it.
What are you doing Tuesday next week?
Happy.
We're doing some nappies. I'm gonna show up
Okay,
in the
well,
morning.
I am no longer a single man next week, so I don't know if I can make Tuesday.
Family guy.
Well, they've been gone a week.
Yep.
They come back tomorrow.
I'm sorry.
They-
They're coming, yeah,
they come back tomorrow.
said they'll come back. I saw they're out there in the cold.
They are, but it's warmer than I would have liked, so I'm not so jealous.
Anything with snow is way too
Yeah.
cold for me.
It's
I'm
just a
done
damn
with
drive.
snow.
Okay, drive safe.
Oh yeah, thank you, appreciate it.
Okay.
And I'll see you next week.
Sounds good, bud.
All
Drive
Hey,
safe.
you know the good news?
What's that?
All the questions that pertained things that weren't DBA related, you got a chance to participate in.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, it worked out great.
I'm-
Unless some other people asked some new things.
I'm a very
Then
lucky
we'll
guy.
forward
Yeah,
it
you
to
are.
you.
All
Hey,
right,
thanks for
guys.
putting on that game.
Hey, no problem.
It was
Okay.
fun.
Check out
Drive
Joel's
safe.
game. It's on there. So okay. All right, here we go.
Okay.
All right, so
Did we answer the-
advice
answer
on,
Koreans?
I would say Koreans definitely. Now what he has is Tang. The Tang fight the Koguryo, and they fight the Shilla. Definitely. The guys that came just before the Tang were the Shui. I know we like calling them Sui, but they're the Shui
Shui.
Chinese and the Million Man Army
Yeah.
with a ton of horde.
Yeah.
Okay, and they actually went and tried to beat the Koguryo Koreans. The Koguryo Koreans stomped them. But then they came back, and I don't know exactly if that caused the Sui dynasty to fall, but it certainly didn't help.
Uh-huh.
And then the Tang came back and did end up conquering the Koguryo, but they were sparring with the Shilla for a while. So those, and you might even be able to make one and morph them into the other ones. It's certainly pretty cool. Now,
Doesn't hurt.
the only guys that make them, to my knowledge, is Kurasan, who is in New York State, and Patty's in the UK. So the shipping might kill you, because you guys have that whole thing where you order things across the seas, and your government says you're not getting them until you pay an extra tax.
Ouch.
Yeah, you guys should revolt, for that. Let us know if you need us to send you any guns. Anyhow, that's the problem that I've heard with ordering from the U.S.
Uh-huh.
Is that tax that they're getting tacked on. The shipping rates for us and the delivery time, ever since Brexit, have gone up a bit, but we don't have to pay that tax.
Yeah.
We haven't had to ever. So, but Coruscant figures are very nice, but I can see that being a concern. If you don't want to order from overseas across the pond, there's a company called Lurkio, and Lurkio makes figures for. And of course you have Essex, but the problem with Essex is they've got Han, and they got a lot of. I like Essex figures, but a lot of the figures all look like each other. So they don't lend themselves, in my opinion, to be excited about painting an other similar army, because the figures all look kind of the same.
Yeah,
I don't know if that makes any sense. I'm not really knocking them. I'm just saying that's kind of what it is. So now Lurkio makes Three Kingdoms Chinese, which is an army that I've always had my eye on. But
not there yet.
But I don't need to order any more stuff. I got plenty of stuff to work on. But what do you think?
Yeah.
I know you like Koreans.
Oh, Koreans are very good. They're well. I think probably one of my favorite Chinese is the
Jin?
Jin.
Okay, which is also a Coruscant.
Yeah.
A Coruscant thing.
Yeah.
Coruscant started with, they started making only Coruscantian figures. I don't know, 15 years ago, whatever, and they've successfully, I guess, they've expanded their lines a lot in all different periods. So
And there you could do two armies with the same figures.
Yeah.
Just change the mounting. The mounted guys, they lose the knights in the B one and go to the cav, and it's a cool army or armies.
Yeah. And it depends what you think of Asian. I know you're probably like, India's not Asian. I mean, it is, but normally India's kind of their own thing.
Yeah.
Like when people say, "Do you have an Indian army?" So do you have an Asian army? People say, "Oh, I'll bring my classical Indians." That's not really what they're getting
Yeah.
at. It's just like, we're playing Asian armies. Cool, I'll bring my Hebrews. No, that's not what people are saying. They're saying far east.
Far east.
Okay. That's it for Patty Green on that one.
All right.
Then we have a new commenter. His name is Robert Willoughby, and he's actually in Estonia.
Estonia.
You know what that is?
Right next to Russia there.
It is.
Ta-da!
Yeah, right next to Latvia,
There you go.
right, which is next to Lithuania.
What's so funny?
Exactly. So he wants to know. I guess he's trying to learn DVA with no other DVA players in the area. Okay. He wants to know when bows shoot and who shoots first. So without putting troops on here, basically the phasing player gets to choose what order they're in. And, they get to choose whatever it is. And if you get shot at by the bow, that bow has to shoot back at that one guy.
Yeah.
If you have someone that is unengaged,
As long as they're in the same arcs.
Yeah.
That they can shoot each
any
other.
unengaged bows, when it comes back to the non-phasing player, they get to shoot. Now they'll shoot in the shooting phase of either bounding player, and the bounding player gets to choose gets to kind of pick the matchups, so to
there's
speak.
gotta be,
Unless,
what's one of our shooting battles?
oh yeah, we have lots of shooting battles. Watch the videos on there.
Yeah, check out.
Oh yeah, Dark in the Skies.
Yeah,
we have
check out-
several Dark in the Skies. You're going to see a lot of shooting stuff on there.
Yeah.
Check those out.
Watch the video of Dark in the
there's
Skies.
2 or 3 of those on there,
Should be on
and
the
those we have to have like a minimum of like 4 or 6 shooting elements. So
So see, look at something like that where there's a lot of shooting going on, and you can find out. Maybe
Yeah.
that'll help answer some of your questions,
Uh-huh.
situations.
And then his other question, one of my favorite pet peeves. He wants to know if spear or other heavy foot, he noticed that they could be based on 40 by 20s or 40 by 15s. Is there a reason why that's allowed in either one? Is it some gamey reason, or is it for compatibility for other rule sets? So, as far as I know, in other versions of DBA, heavy foot like solid blade, solid spear, solid pike, we're always on 40 by 15s. And I believe Art de la Guerre, I'm not going to speak as an authority, but I believe other rule sets use that as well, including Armati, things like that. They did an allowance for 40 by 20s also, so that when you recoil, you don't discombobulate as much. I don't like putting them on 40 by 15s because my original 2.2 armies were already on 40 by 15s, and I don't want to rebase everything when I don't have to, and I think it looks better that solid guys or more. And the example I'll give is if you have an early Imperial Roman army, they have solid auxilia and solid blades, and if you put them both on 40 by 20s, it's harder to tell the difference of them at a quick glance. Now, will it play okay? Sure, but my preference is to not mix the two. But that's just me. And I think everybody's split evenly on both things. You know.
It's your preference.
Yeah, I prefer to kind of look at them at a glance and
Yeah.
be able to tell the
Yep,
difference.
me too.
You know?
Belt, blade, spear.
So,
There they are.
but is it gamey? Yeah, I guess it could be, but that's not why I'm doing it. I just think it looks better. All right, so let's get to any questions that we may have, new questions, and I don't have another device, so you just have to deal with me poking along on this thing, and let's see how many things. Uh-oh. Let's see if can we go back far enough? Here we go. A Song of Shakes or Tomahawks, I think. I don't know what that's. James L., I don't know what that's in reference to. Someone correct me because I'm making a coffee, but I love the Song of Blades and Heroes engine. I don't know what that is. I will correct you. I don't know what you're talking about. I think you're probably talking about maybe Jenkins Ear or something like that.
Oh,
That sounds like one of those fighting in the French and Indian War type of. Oh wait, we got to call that French and Native Peoples battle, War of French and Native Peoples battle. Yeah, that's right. I'm going to move this a little bit closer just so I have access to it, and take a look here. Kelly Davis. Kelly Davis is in Michigan. Welcome. I've never seen an English Civil War game played in the States. I have.
At conventions.
I've seen it in 28 millimeter. Yeah, and they were probably using not Black Powder. Is it Pikeman's Lament? Something like that. One of those Osprey rule sets.
Uh-huh.
I could be wrong.
Just don't see many of them.
It's not.
It's not that popular.
Okay. So here's the things against the English Civil War. It's a civil war. Everybody's English. Not that I have anything against English, but it's like everybody's on the same. They're of the same nationality. Now there are Scots and Irish, but it's not. And the uniform. There are some units that are uniformed, but what they're wearing isn't very exciting. Like floppy hats, and you know, it just doesn't. Now the same time period that would be a lot interesting that I have played games in are Three Musketeers games. I've played a Three Musketeers skirmish game, and it's a lot of fun. Well, half the fun is going, ha ha, and doing a ridiculous French accent you know, and everything that goes along with that.
Right.
You know, but and those are a lot of fun. You know, just doesn't interest me.
No.
Now, and it's just a little too late for me. Like, I would love to play French Wars of Religion, Huguenots and Catholics, and you know all that. That would be a lot more. But I'm more in the 1500s than the 1600s. So, Kelly Davis, American Civil War miniatures are often the same molds for both sides. Kind of boring. You said it. You said it. Just doesn't interest me.
Yeah.
You know. What else? Song and Blades of Heroes is a light fantasy skirmish rules. Songs of Drums and Shakos is a Napoleonic historical variant. Yeah. Okay, well, we're at the end of the night, and well, it was 50 minutes. We got something in. Answered some of these questions that you guys may have had, so I appreciate it. And hey, on this video, if you got any other comments for the next Q&A, don't know if Joe will be in on it or anybody else, but you know, it doesn't have to be DBA specific. We do know about a few other things, but
One or two.
yeah. So we played. What did we play the other night that you've never played before? Wings of War.
Yeah.
You never played it before, right?
Wings
Did
of
you
War,
like
no.
it?
Yeah.
That was cool.
fun.
And we even played without miniatures, and it was fun.
Yep.
So
Yep. Yeah, it's a good game.
maybe we can do some of that in the future. But there's probably tons of, but we don't have the new one. I mean, when I sold my old stuff a long time ago, I bought every one of those expansions. So I've got the balloons and all that stuff, and I've got probably 8 miniatures. But when we were moving with it's on the mouse pad and everything, you got to be really tactical how you hold the other piece down while you move the other one off. And I'm telling you, even with the actual base of the miniatures, they're super slippery all over the place. So that's really my only gripe about that. So we'll probably do some of that in the future. I don't know if we'll film it. We'll see. We got to get more experience.
Yeah.
So we don't see Mitch doing a bunch of flat spins.
Oh, he's crashing.
He only did it one time.
one or two moves.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyhow, anything else? Last call. You can get 2mm ECW super cheap. Osprey rules are good if you like the satisfaction of big handfuls of dice. Yeah, my only gripe with, I haven't played games that have a lot of dice. The problem with a lot of dice is they can go every which way and you're knocking down miniatures.
Ugh.
I've never played games that have a lot of dice. No, I've never played games other than the DBA that had such few.
Oh yeah.
But
I have. I played all kinds of different.
yeah.
All kinds of different. And the chances of a dice going on the floor even
This
go
guy.
higher.
This guy, yeah. Yep.
Oh man.
You thought we were going to do Gaslands tonight? No. No, we've played it 6 times. We need to be more familiar with it, or
Yeah, we're not
it's going to be
quite
not. It's not going to be fun to watch. Let's put it that way. So that's still a ways off. We do have the rules, but
We're not ready yet.
we're not ready yet. No. So you don't want to see us play Gaslands right now. No. And besides, Luke's not here. It's not going to be fun without Luke.
Crash and burn.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Until next time. Thanks for joining us. You guys have a good night.
See ya.
See ya.